Good morning, magandang umaga. Welcome to your program Agenda here on Cignal TV, channels 8 and 250. And of course, you can also watch us via Facebook and on YouTube. And for those who do, maraming salamat po for your continued support, especially to all Cignal TV subscribers. And thank you as well to PLDT Home Fiber Optic Internet. Today is June 1, 2023. We have reached the midpoint of the calendar, the 6th month of the year. And today here in Barangay, in Barrio Capitolio, Pasig, the 6th month or June was welcomed with a morning shower. So sana magandang pamahiin yan and or a good omen. But of course, all that we have comes from the Lord. And so let us not ask or look to signs, because the blessings are guaranteed for those who honor and obey God. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, it's the first day of the month, so our topic for today is serious, okay? It is all about the Maharlika Investment Fund, because up to 11 o'clock last night, may nag-text pa sa akin talking about the Maharlika Investment Fund. So, the pros are celebrating, the antis are asking, what now, Pussycat? What are we going to do? I said, well, I think there are many things that still need to be done before the pros can really have it, or the yays can have it. Why? Because first of all, they have to find the money. And number two, they have to get the house in order, organize everything, and find the people who will be responsible. And we will discuss this at length with a real expert, someone who has been in the realm of finances, of wealth, etc., and who we entrusted with much of the government's coffers when he was in government. We will introduce our guests later. But today, let's start with our daily starter, which comes from Saint Francis of Assisi. Okay. And Saint Francis of Assisi is quoted as saying, "Go out and preach the gospel, and if you must, use words." Now, I'm not going to steer religious towards everyone this morning, but when I read this and when I heard about this, it reminded me that it has many applications in life. While Saint Francis of Assisi was talking about spreading the good news from God or the gospel, his words, go out and spread the news, and if you must, use words, is a reminder, okay? Let your actions speak better than your words, okay? Because we always want to share our knowledge, our beliefs, our philosophies, or we want to pass on our disciplines even to our children. But as they say in the Philippines, nauuna ang salita bago ang gawa. Words go faster or go out before the works. And perhaps that is also what Saint Francis of Assisi was saying. Your life must be a reflection of what you want to preach or what you want to teach, okay? And ultimately, if you have to, then use words. But if your life, if you're talking about body, if you're talking about health, but you're unhealthy, then what's the point? If you're talking about wealth to other people, but you're not rich, or you're not wealthy, or you're not happy, then what's the point? So, go out and preach the gospel And if you must, okay, use words. Okay, let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star. And the headline goes, Congress approves Maharlika. GSIS, SSS prohibited from investing. Okay. Before adjourning session last night, was it last night or early yesterday morning, Congress officially adopted the proposed measure creating the Maharlika Investment Fund. Ito po yung House of Representatives. Adopted the Senate Bill 2020 creating the controversial investment fund after senators passed on third and final reading early yesterday at 2:30 the MIF bill. Okay, so yun po. And there's the photo of those celebrating their accomplishment of passing the Maharlika Investment Fund. The question is, will the Filipino people be celebrating in the final outcome? Okay. At the top of the front page, 11 Degamo Slay suspects seek dismissal of raps. Okay. After recanting their testimony or their sworn statements, 11 Degamo Slay suspects who were arrested by the Philippine National Police and Combined Task Force with the military are now moving for the charges against them to be dismissed. Iba talaga. Okay. Hindi naman only in the Philippines. It happens all over. Meanwhile, BBM greets birthday girl Sarah and says, ignore the tambalos-los. Okay. President Marcos greeted his BFF, best friend forever, Vice President Sara Duterte on her 45th birthday yesterday and advised her to ignore the tambalos-los around her. Okay. Anyway, we will not go further into the message, but that was the gist of the President's birthday greeting to Vice President Sara Duterte. Still on the upper part of the front page, we have a photo of President Marcos answering questions from reporters during the 86th celebration of the Government Service Insurance System in Pasay City yesterday, where he was quoted Marcos saying MUP or Military Uniform Personnel pension reform a monumental task. Kumbaga, dambuhalang hamon at trabaho ang hinaharap ng gobyerno because they have to find an acceptable way to ensure the continued funding for pensions of retired personnel, military and police personnel. Okay. Meanwhile, Pinoy Gen Zs prefer remote work according to survey. Filipino students prefer to work remotely and expect to earn an annual salary of 374,403 or around 31,000 per month once they finish school, according to a survey conducted by an employer branding firm. Okay, yan po. No, that survey was conducted by Universum's Talent Survey 2023. Okay, so yun po, they still want to work remotely. Siguro, para anong tawag nila doon? Dapat may side hustle din. Okay. Meanwhile, after passing the MIF bill, okay, the Speaker of the House of Representatives assured of keeping post until end of term. the alliance with key power blocks brokered by ruling Lakas Christian Muslim Democrats for the 270-member supermajority coalition in the House of Representatives ensure that Martin Romualdez will remain as Speaker until June 2025. Sabi nga nila, continuity. Okay. Meanwhile, Itbulaga hosts Leave Home TV production company. Although this has long been discussed on social media and on mainstream media, the main hosts of the longest-running noontime show, Itbulaga, former Senator Tito Soto, Vic Soto, and Joey De Leon, announced yesterday that they are parting ways with the show's production company, Tape Incorporated. Okay. In yesterday's Eat Bulaga episode, which was streamed on YouTube but not aired on GMA channel, the trio said they have said goodbye to Tape Inc. And I quote, "Pumasok po kaming lahat ngayong araw para magtrabaho pero hindi po kami pinayagan ng new management na umere ng live." In other words, they became victims of the cancel culture. Their show or their performance was canceled. Okay, yan po. Hindi naman po tayo nanlalait. It is the tragedy of Philippine media and Philippine broadcasting. No one has a sure deal. No one, not even those with contracts, etc. And what happens usually is you just find out from someone else that you no longer have a show, or you are not going to be airing, or you are no longer part of the company. Okay. And speaking of parting ways, sad news, former Philippine Air Force Chief and Philippine Star columnist Ramon Farolan has passed away at the age of 88. Yan po, he passed away yesterday, and we would like to express our condolences to the family of Sir Mon. Hindi ko na alam, sa dami ng title ni Sir Ramon, ang dami na niya. He was also, even if I'm not mistaken, Customs Commissioner, Philippine Air Force Chief, etc., etc. But as they say, vaya con Diyos, Sir Ramon. Okay, last piece of news on the front page. DOTR names Villacorta as LTO caretaker. And you might say, Villacorta who? Okay, the designated caretaker for the Land Transportation Office is none other than Assistant Secretary Hector Villacorta, who was DOTR who is DOTR Assistant Secretary for Communications and Commuter Affairs. He previously served as Secretary of the Commission on Appointments. Ayan po. That wraps up the news articles that's on the front page of the Philippine Star. And as I always remind our viewers, please get a physical copy or subscribe online. Follow the Philippine Star online, because there's so much news in the inside pages of the Star, both for business, sports, entertainment, and current affairs. Baka kamo, may mga nangyayari, hindi nyo alam, meron na pala kayong sakit ng ulo, or you might be missing an opportunity by not reading. Okay, let's now go to our subject matter for the day. Let us get an education. Let us get a lecture from our respected resource person who is regular here on Agenda, and we thank him for that because we really need accurate information, hindi po fake news. And I will try to tie my tongue down. Sabi nga sa Bible, talian mo yung dila mo para yung tenga mo ang tumalas. Okay, let's bring in our guest. Gab, please roll out the Betamax.
Diwa Guinigundo is the former deputy governor of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Before retiring in 2019, Guinigundo served the country's central bank for over 4 decades, 14 of which he spent heading the central bank's monetary and economic sector. A graduate of the University of the Philippines, Guinigundo also earned a master's degree at the London School of Economics as a scholar of BSP.
Okay, Sir Diwa, good morning to you. Looks like you eat problems for breakfast because hindi ka tumatanda. Ako lang ang tumatanda dito. Oops, you're on mute, sir. Naka-mute ka. Oops.
Maraming salamat, Cito, no, sa invitation mo. And it is always a pleasure to appear here in Agenda.
Well, thank you very much. I also know you are a respected brother in the faith, and you have been a man of integrity in your service, particularly in the finance world and in banking and economics. So that's why Team Agenda always runs to you for help. Paki-lecture naman kami because up to 11 o'clock last night, I thought this MIF bill was, was a passe, hindi na concern ng marami. But last night, I was getting text. Mabuti, tinulugan ko silang lahat. But they were all asking, paano na yan? How will this thing turn out? Will it be good? I guess also because I wrote about it, where I pointed out the issue of Malaysia and the 1MDB, where they put up a similar sovereign fund and ended up being robbed of $4.5 billion. $4.5 billion. And up to now, nakikipag-negotiate pa yung principal suspect. How would you answer all of these concerns, etc.?
Well, unang-una, the 1MDB or Malaysian Development Berhad lost more than $4 billion. But it also incurred loans or liabilities of more than $7 billion. So hindi lamang yung 4 billion na nalugi, kung hindi yung 7 billion na nautang, and it is now unable to pay back such loan. Now, itong MIF, the MIF as it is structured today, is not only authorized to invest, but it is also authorized to borrow. Okay? Now, the problem is fundamental. Sovereign wealth funds are built on extra or surplus funds. Sa isang tao, kapag ikaw ay mayroong extra pondo, natapos mo ng tustusan yung mga pangailangan mo, pwede ka na ngayong mag-invest o kaya mamuhunan sa iba't ibang instrumento. Pwedeng stocks, pwedeng bonds, no? O pwede ka ring pumasok sa negosyo. At least, hindi maapektuhan yung mga basic requirements mo. Like housing, food, infrastructure, etc. But what happened here, Cito, is that we are getting the capitalization of MIF right from the budget. It is true that Land Bank and DBP will be putting up the seed fund. 25 billion from DBP and 50 billion from Land Bank, plus 50 billion from the national government.
Teka, Professor. Kasi if you base it sa mga press release, wala raw gagalawin na government funds. Yung pala, lang yung sa SSS, sa GSIS lang.
Yes,
pero yung Land Bank at DBP, mapapakialaman.
They are required to put up the 75 billion seed fund. Kaya ang tawag sa kanila, Cito, is founder GIF. Okay? Founder, Government Financial Institutions, GFI.
75 billion pesos o dollars?
Pesos.
Pesos, okay.
So, that means 25 billion from DBP and 75 billion from Land Bank. So that's 75. Now, another 50 billion will have to be sourced from the BSP. Now, where does the national government source that 50 billion in terms of asking the BSP? The BSP is normally giving dividends to the national government. But remember, the only sole stockholder of BSP is the government. So the government will have to put up the capital of the of the BSP. In 1993, 50 billion lang ang capital ng BSP. That was 30 years ago. Okay? Now, under the new charter, merong amended charter ng BSP, i-recapitalize ang BSP up to 200 billion. But because the government does not have the money, the government said through Congress, okay, when you give me your dividends, instead of me using the dividends to fund the budget, I will give it back to you. Ibabalik ko sa iyo so that you can recapitalize yourself. Okay na sana yun. Okay? Okay na sana. Ang problema, pumasok ang Maharlika Investment Fund. So instead of the BSP using its own dividends, it will now be earmarked and assigned to the Maharlika Investment Fund. Now,
which was sorry, pasensya ka na,
Yes.
Sir Diwa. Which is what Senator Sherwin Gatchalian was trying to prevent when he said that the dividends of the BSP should not be used for Maharlika funds, which Senator Mark Villar opposed and included in the bill.
that's right. Some of the senators realized the importance of avoiding to touch the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Sa konstitusyon, independent ang Bangko Sentral. Autonomous ang Bangko Sentral. Gagalawin mo pa ngayon yung kanyang dividendo na kailangan niya. 50 billion noong pang 1993 yon. Ngayon, gusto nating palakasin ang Bangko Sentral para sa ganon, magawa nito ang kanyang mandato. Ang mandato ng Bangko Sentral is to keep prices stable. Pag kinakailangang i-map up ng Bangko Sentral ang extra liquidity o extra money supply, kailangan niya ng pera. Kasi kukunin niya yung pera, babayaran niya ng interesyon sa merkado. Kapag ka naman may bumabagsak na bangko sa Pilipinas, again, the BSP needs money to bail out distressed financial institutions, especially the banks. So, ang Maharlika Investment Fund, kukunin niya ngayon ito at sa halip na ma-recapitalize ang Bangko Sentral, what will happen is there will be a prolonged period for the BSP to complete its recapitalization. Dati, 8 or 9 years ang estimate bago ma-recapitalize ng buo yung 200 billion. Today, with the Maharlika, that will extend to 17 years. Imagine, 17 years and anything can happen, Cito. That will require more resources from the BSP. Yun yung unang-unang issue dito sa sovereign wealth fund na tinatawag. Kung sovereign wealth fund,
I think
extra
there's
fund yan.
pasensya na, Sir Diwa, no? But you said something that is even more important and probably is the first issue. You said the fund of the BSP, sabi mo, yung pera ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is protected by the Constitution. Ano ba yung sabi mo kanina?
No, ang nakalagay sa Constitution, the state shall establish a independent central monetary authority.
Okay.
Yan yung BSP. And in 1993, they came up with a Republic Act 7653 that established what is now called the BSP with a capitalization of 50 billion.
Oh.
Actually, it took time bago yung 50 billion na bayaran ng gobyerno.
So
Okay?
hindi pwedeng pakialaman yung pera in principle, no one, the government cannot meddle with the central bank or its resources or the entrusted wealth to the BSP.
Well, that is what an independent central bank implies. Okay? That is what it means for a central bank to be autonomous because it needs to be independent to be able to fully carry out its mandate, its responsibility to keep prices stable and the banking system also stable. Importante yon. But
Okay.
the Maharlika Investment Fund bill actually earmarks itong dapat pang-recapitalize ng BSP at iyon ay gagamitin para ipampondo doon sa 50 billion share ng national government doon sa initial 125 billion seed fund ng Maharlika Investment
We
Fund.
are not only talking about extra money in some office or vault of the
Yes.
central bank. We are talking about the operating capital of the Bangko Sentral ng
Yes.
Pilipinas.
Precisely, Cito. Okay sana kung sinasabi nating sovereign wealth fund, extra fund yan, surplus fund. Kasi napunta ka ng public asset, kumita ka sa langis. Sana yung malampaya, no? Kumita ka sa ginto, marami kang ginto, nagbenta ka. Alright? O kaya gas. Okay yon. Sobrang pera mo yon. Which means, yung basic needs ng iyong mga constituents, ng iyong mga mamamayan, na-cover mo na. Sobra na lang ito. Yan, pwede mong i-invest yan sa iba't ibang government securities, sa corporate paper, etc. But no, decapitalization will come from the budget. Maliwanag yan eh. Dito sa Section 7, yung increase in capitalization. O pwede yung 500 billion, itong mga ito, kukunin yan hindi lang sa Land Bank, DBP, yung national government, kukunin naman sa BSP, pati PAGCOR, plus other GFIs and government-owned and controlled corporations.
Okay, time out tayo, Sir Diwa, because nakakatakot yung sinabi mo. The implication or the insinuation of all the government agencies that will have to contribute to the fund
Yes.
simply suggests that a lot of people and a lot of social services are going to be cut back, reduced, marami ang maghihirap. We'll go for a quick break, Sir Diwa Guinigundo, and when we come back, let's carry on with your lecture kasi kahit ako, grabe, ang dami kong natututunan sa'yo. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to your program, Agenda, here on Cignal TV, and joining us for today's lecture, today's seminar on how the Maharlika Investment Fund will affect you. We have a veteran, a former deputy governor of Bangko Sentral, and a graduate with master's degree in economics at the London School of Economics, none other than former Deputy Governor Diwa Guinigundo. Sir Diwa, welcome back.
Ay, maraming salamat, Cito.
Okay, so sinabi mo, when it comes to sovereign funds, wealth funds, the principle or the philosophy is dapat ang pangkapital mo yung sobra mo, your surplus fund, or you have so much money, you have so much wealth that you need to put a place to invest it. So number one. Number two, you pointed out, having been in BSP for the longest time, that the BSP is supposed to be an independent, constitutionally mandated independent central bank. And by virtue of law, the BSP was supposed to recapitalize from $50 billion, baka mo yun, to $200 billion.
Pesos.
Ano po?
Pesos.
Pesos. Sorry.
200 billion pesos.
200, from 50 to 200 billion pesos. Now,
Yeah.
that's all well and good to make the BSP capable of addressing any monetary-related disruptions or issues. But with the introduction of the MIF or Maharlika Investment Fund na magbibigay ng 50 billion pesos ang BSP from dividends, the same 50 billion is actually the money that was already by law allocated to the recapitalization.
Correct.
Kumbaga, hello, nakatoka na yan para sa pagpapalakas ng BSP, biglang bubunutin mo para dito sa bagong gawang MIF.
Hindi pa yon, Cito, no? Hindi pa yon. Yung pagkukuhanan after the 50 billion na tapos ng share ng gobyerno, yung ibang GFIs, yung ibang government agencies, including local government, walang prohibition dito kasi nakalagay sa pinagtibay nilang panukalang batas sa kahapon ng madaling araw ay other government agencies or instrumentalities. So kung ganun ka general, kasama dyan pati local government. Kung kasama dyan pati local government, yung kanilang internal revenue allotment, yung dating IRA, kasama yan sa pwedeng magalaw upang makapag-subscribe doon sa 375 billion in common shares ng 500 billion capitalization ng MIF and 125 billion doon sa preferred shares. Sa makatwid, nakalagay din sa batas, dito sa panukalang batas, kapag ito ay i-increase, yung 500 billion, itataas nila. Yung additional subscription ng gobyerno, ng government agencies and other instrumentalities of government will be sourced from the budget. What's the issue here? Ang issue ganito, under the one single fund concept, kung ano yung inalis mo doon sa budget para dalhin sa Maharlika Investment Fund, paano mo pupunan yun? Kinakailangan ng infrastruktura, edukasyon, kalusugan, okay? At digitalization ng ating ekonomiya. Ang nangyayari ngayon, mapipilitan ang ating gobyerno na umutang, number one. Number two, magpataw ng mas mataas o mas maraming buwis. At number three, pagsamahin yung dalawa. Mataas na buwis o kaya umutang ng mas malaki.
May pangatlo pang disgrasya, Sir Diwa.
Yeah.
Bawasan yung
gastos
na lumalabas sa social services. Kasi
correct,
nabanggit mo kanina yung pagkor. Di ko pag sinabihin yung pagkor, 1/4 o
right.
1/2, ibigay mo dito, konti na yung pwede nilang pamigay.
That's right. Pero hindi nga gagawin yon Sito ng gobyerno kasi sila ay nakakommit to achieve 6 to 7% growth of the economy. So hindi nila po pwedeng galawin yung public spending. Ang kanilang gagalawin, ang kanilang flexibility ron ay umutang, magdagdag ng pondo na kinuha nila precisely from the national budget at ilalagay sa Maharlika Investment Fund.
And pag umutang ka, yung MIF, yung Maharlika Investment Fund, now reminds me of the IMF, International Monetary Fund, na kung saan during the time na nagkabaon-baon tayo sa utang, during the time of a certain Ferdinand Marcos Sr., the MIF in turn and the World Bank said, well, ang dami niyong utang, magtaas kayo ng buwis or magpataw kayo ng bagong buwis.
That's right. We went through several adjustment programs with the IMF, and one of the consequences, one of the conditions, or prior conditions ng IMF before it releases the money that we are borrowing from them, is to impose higher taxes or cut back on public spending. So it was during that time na talagang mahirap na mahirap ang buhay. And we don't want a repeat of that incident or that experience sa ating bansa.
Yeah, but how can we prevent this? Because right now, these authors, these senators, refuse to discuss publicly these concerns, yung where the money will come from, who's going to suffer, what are the repercussions of getting dividends, funds, etc. And they're talking now about who's going to run the fund, what will be the priority programs. So nabasa ko sa dyaryo na they now have to determine what will be the programs of priority. Parang sabi ko, pumasok pa kayo sa gobyerno? Ngayon pa lang nyo iisipin? Iniisip yung gagawin yung programa?
They should hit the ground running, so to speak, di ba? At ito pa ang dapat nating linawin, ano? Hindi naman ganun kadali ang magpatakbo ng tinatawag nilang investment fund o kaya pambansa sovereign wealth fund. Dalawa ang maaari nilang pamuhunan. Number one, financial instruments. Madali, more or less madali yan eh. Bibili sila ng corporate bonds sa ibang bansa o kaya pumasok sila sa stocks. Mas madali yan dahil kailangan mo lang ng tulong ng mga fund managers o kaya investment managers, madaling mag-decide yan. Okay? Madali yan. On the other hand, sinasabi rin nila dito sa panukalang batas, they will be investing in infrastructure projects. Pag sinabi natin infrastructure, power, water, yung mga bridges na yan, water dams, hydroelectric, etc. Kailangan mo dyan ng masusing pag-aaral. So, ano ang matitipid mo sa when you establish the Maharlika Investment Fund in terms of quick and more efficient decision making? When you are still faced with the question, which infrastructure projects should we fund? Kung ano yung ginagawa ng NEDA, kung ano yung ginagawa ng public partnership, yun din ang gagawin nila before they can competently and convincingly invest in one project versus the other. Yun ang importante dyan eh. At hindi naman po pwedeng kahit na pasukin nila. No?
So in other words, Sir Diwa, ang nangyayari, gumawa pa sila ng additional bureaucracy or parang extension office. Kasi sabi mo, pagdating sa investments, kung saan ilalagay yung pera, they have to do the due diligence.
Correct.
So yun ginagawa na ng NEDA, ginagawa na ng DPWH, ng PPP. So uulitin lang nila yung trabaho na ginagawa na, number one. Number two, yung pera, yung funding, yung contribution, hindi ba gawain niya ng BSP, ng DOF? So duplication na naman. Pagkatapos yung investment funds, etc., before they can achieve anything, that would be what? Year 4 of the PBBM administration?
Kasi we're talking here of transparency and accountability, Sito. At siya laging, that's one issue that continues to, that was resonating in the Senate and even in the House of Representatives. How can we ensure the security of public funds in this MIF? Okay. Ngayon, dahil sa paglilipat nila mula sa budget process noong pag-identify ng mga project, and to me, kapag ka nagdi-defend na yung iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno sa Kongreso, pinapatawag yan, di ba? May public hearing, merong mga meeting yung mga, ito, ang Bureau of Customs, BIR, yung budget na ninyo itatakal dyan. Kung may mga project silang gustong pondohan, dun dinidiscuss yan sa budget hearing. Pero, ang gagawin ngayon, yung pondo ilalagay ngayon sa MIF. And to me, medyo tingin ko doon, medyo mawawala na ngayon doon yung transparency dahil ang magdi-decide doon ngayon ay yung board of directors and management, including those who will be hired by the MIF to help them invest or choose projects for funding purposes.
You're only talking about the Philippine scenario. You're
Yes.
not even talking about where kasi ang sabi nila, we are putting up the Maharlika Investment Fund para yung mga investors maglagay ng pera dito. Tapos yung pera na yon, yung dividends or yung kinita from that fund will be used for development projects, correct?
Correct.
Ngayon, nung nangyari sa 1MDB sa Malaysia, binuo nila yung pondo, pagkatapos ang first move nila, okay, kailangan palakihin. We need to grow the fund, so let us make an investment. They joined a very newly formed Saudi Arabia oil company na merong parang prinsipe na among the directors.
Yeah.
And then, as it turned out, the $800 million investment to that company never arrived.
Correct.
Nabulsa, napunta sa Switzerland, hindi sa Saudi Arabia. And nung pumutok na yung skandalo, it was only then discovered that much of the MDB fund placements all went to private accounts, secret accounts, and not yung mga so-called investors na loko.
Yeah, that brings us to the fundamental issue, Cito, of do we really need an MIF? Okay? Ang gusto ng MIF dito sa panukalang batas ay maliwanag. Ang sabi nila rito, it is the policy of the state daw to generate, preserve, and grow national wealth, create jobs, etc., etc. So, this is their point of departure. Gagawin din daw nila yon. But to me, itong lahat ng mga ito na gusto nilang gawin, ginagawa ngayon under the budget process. Yan yung framework ngayon ng gobyerno. Hindi natin kailangan ng MIF to attract investment here and abroad. Ang importante lang, maipakita natin na number one, maganda ang pamamalakad ng ating pamahalaan at ng ating ekonomiya. Pangalawa, wala tayong mga excess fat doon po sa ating budget. Pangatlo, yung cost of doing business sa atin ay lagi nating naipapababa. Yung Transparency International, yung perception index ng corruption, dapat naipababa yan. Yung ating level of digitalization, dapat umaakit yan. Ito po ang magdadala ng investment sa Pilipinas. Hindi po yung kukunin mo yung pondo na nasa budget na para sa social services and infrastructure, popondohan mo ang MIF para lumabas sa ibang bansa at maghagilap ng investment papunta dito sa Pilipinas. To me, that is an expensive way of attracting foreign investments and motivating domestic investors to invest more and expose themselves to business activities in the Philippines.
Okay, earlier you said that the MIF or Maharlika Investment Fund, if this is truly passed into law, is could be considered in violation of the constitutionally mandated independence of the BSP. Now, si Senator Chis Escudero said something, and I'd like to ask the team agenda to flash it on the screen. Senator Chis Escudero said this: unless they comply with the condition precedent test of economic viability, it might be constitutionally infirm for Congress to pass this bill creating a new GOCC without complying with the mandate of Article 12, Section 16 of the 1987 Constitution. That is from Senator Chis Escudero. Now, ito bang MIF? Kasi naguguluhan ng marami. Ano ba ito? Batas lang ba ito na magagamit ng Office of the President? Or are they actually creating an office? Kasi yung iba sabi, yung 1MDB para na raw bangko. Is this going to be just a bank account, an investment offer sa pasensya ka na, Sir Diwa? Pati ako nahihilo na eh. Ano ba ito? Parang roll out na shares, etc.?
Tama yung sinabi ni Senator Escudero, no? Na pwedeng i-question ang constitutionality ng pagkakatayo ng MIF. Pero yan ay maaari lamang i-question o i-challenge sa Supreme Court pag naging batas na yan.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, ang gagawin ng Supreme Court, ibabasura lang yan and they will say premature. Because there is nothing to rule on. Hindi pa batas eh. Alright.
Oo.
Yan, doon sa constitutionality naman, noong hahagilap ng pera mula sa dividendo ng BSP. Well, sasabihin nila, totoo na nasa batas na yan, yung RA 11211, which amended the BSP Charter, RA, Republic Act 7653. Kami naman ang manbabatas, pwede namin gawin yan. Ang question dan, yung sinasabi kanina ng Senator Chis Escudero is it wise? Is it wise for Congress to change the provisions of an existing law, RA 11211, and earmark or divert the funds intended for recapitalizing the BSP and then channeling it to the MIF, to the Maharlika Investment Fund? Is it wise? Ang issue dan ay ganito. Several months ago, ang sabi ni Presidente Bongbong, hindi raw siya nakakatulog dahil sa taas ng presyo ng bilihin. Nakita niya yung presyo ng bigas. Oo. Mahigit 40, 50 pesos. Yung onion, naging 750. Hindi raw siya makatulog. Kung gagalawin ng Kongreso ang pera ng BSP at ang BSP ay hindi makapag-deliver ng kanyang mandato to keep prices stable, well, President Bongbong may spend more sleepless nights in Malacanang. Okay? Number two,
he might get kicked out of Malacanang.
Okay.
Hindi ba? I'm not insinuating anything, no? But if things get out of hand and the BSP can't control inflation,
it will be his reputation. It will be his leadership that will be put to question. Maaring na-miss out yan ni Presidente. Hindi siguro nung mag-decide siya, hindi kumpleto ang impormasyon na ibigay sa kanya. So, those are things that we don't know. But what we know is the output of Congress. At makikita natin sa Section 57, no? Section 57, yung repealing and amendatory clause. Isa doon sa i-repeal nila, dalawa no? Section 2 of RA 7653 as amended by RA 11211 of the new Central Bank Act. Sa makatwid, pati yung mandato ng Bangko Sentral, okay, pwede nilang baguhin. And this is only by law. Okay, ang question doon, tama ba yun? Okay? Tama ba yun?
Papakialaman mo.
Prerogative to do it. But is it wise?
You're going to rewrite an established law in order to establish a untested concept.
Correct. Correct.
That was never discussed. That was never even mentioned in media, that
Kaya
there is
nga-
going to be a rewrite of the Bangko Sentral law.
Yung Section 2 of RA, yung Section 2, yun yung objectives at goals ng Bangko Sentral. I don't know which of Section 2 they will amend. Kasi iniisip ko, itong MIF is a so-called financial institution. Ang ibig bang sabihin nun, ito ay hindi under sa supervision ng Bangko Sentral? Hindi ko alam kasi hindi maliwanag dito Section 2 lang ang binabanggit, pero hindi in-specify which in Section 2 will be amended or revised.
Because traditionally or officially, legally, they are anything of such nature, kahit anong negosyo regarding that, yung mga investment fund, has to be under the control and supervision of the central bank, Bangko Sentral ng
If it is a
Pilipinas.
financial institution or an institution doing quasi-banking functions, automatically under the BSP yan. So dapat under sa BSP yan. Kaya lang, maliwanag dito sa panukalang batas, Section 57, particularly the following laws or provisions of laws are hereby expressly amended. Okay? Amended to the extent of ensuring the full implementation of the provisions of this act. So lumalabas, mas mahalaga itong MIF kaysa sa Bangko Sentral. At ito ay nakita din, ito ay nakita din doon sa pagbibigay ng dividendo. Kasi nakalagay doon, 100% ng dividendo ibibigay muna sa MIF hanggang matapos yung 50 billion capitalization ng share ng national government sa MIF.
Yeah.
And then, nabayaran na, tsaka lang ngayon magagamit ng Bangko Sentral yung dividendo nito for recapitalization. See?
Yeah, but being
priority.
being the journalist in the room, Sir Diwa, no? Amended is hereby amended. So parang dineklara mo na
Correct.
even before you wrote what is to be amended, it's already done.
Yes.
Ano sila? Si Lord?
Yes.
Naisip lang nila, done na. I mean, that is legally infirm.
Correct. Kaya nga dapat ito ay kinakailangan sana bago ito minadali kahapon ng madaling araw, na pag-usapan, inisa-isa dapat ito. Alam mo, Cito, yung aming pagnanais nung nasa Central Bank pa ako, pagnanais namin na mapataas ang capitalization ng Central Bank, it took us more than 20 years to do it. Pagpapataas lang yun, ng capitalization from 50 to 100 to 200 billion. Ito, by the stroke of a pen, babaguhin lahat yung pinagtrabahuhan, okay, ng 20 taon.
Okay, so clearly in less than an hour, you have explained to us all the infirmities, all of the defects of this Maharlika Investment Fund. Now, should the president rethink his position and say, let's go back to the drawing board, or what does your crystal ball say will happen? Because ako, Sir Diwa, my greatest fear is 1 MDB.
Tama yun, Cito. I hope and I pray that those legal minds surrounding the president, ang dami naman dyan. Andyan si Senator Enrile, okay? Yung ating Solicitor General, si Minardo Guevara. Itong mga ito ay matatalino at nawa ay sila ay hingan muna ng tulong ng ating presidente, tingnan ang batas na ito bago niya pirmahan upang makita kung ano ang pwede niyang ibito. Pwede naman niyang ibito yung mga at ibalik sa Senado at sa Kongreso upang maging ma-address yung mga infirmities nito. At sa pamamagitan ng mga ganitong talakayan, I hope more people will be engaged. More of these infirmities of the MIF law or the MIF bill will come to light. Upang
Okay.
sa ganoon ay malaman ng mga tao, magkaroon ng public pressure for the president to spend more time examining and appreciating what the law is trying to do. After
Okay.
all, it is not the Senate, it is not Congress that will be blamed here. It is the president.
It's his signature that will be on the dotted line. Thank you very much, former Deputy Governor, BSP Deputy Governor Diwa Guinigundo, a brother in the faith. Thank you very much, and God bless you, sir.
God bless you, Cito, at sa lahat ng ating mga nakikinig.
Okay, let's now go to our closing prayer for today, which comes from Philippians chapter 4, verse 19. And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of His glory in Christ Jesus. I request our viewers, please pray that the President will be given wisdom by God Almighty and the Holy Spirit, because this MIF law, if passed, may be a blessing, but in most likelihood will be a curse. God bless all of you. Please pray for us, our families here on Agenda. Please keep it on One News.